to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a stack of sources, really getting into a film that, it really shifted things for crime thrillers 1967's Point Blank.
That's right. We're doing a deep dive today into this really fascinating mix. You've got the classic American tough guy, Lee Marvin, working with a young British director, John Boorman, on his first U.S. film.
And our mission really is to figure out why this movie, which is, let's face it, pretty brutal visually, and doesn't have a lot of dialogue, why it's seen as such a high point for both of them.
It really is. And if you're interested in how action films started changing in the late 60s, this is kind of a perfect case study. It blends that hard-boiled American style with something more, well, European art house.
Yeah, it's a great shortcut to understanding that shift. The plot itself sounds simple on paper, doesn't it?
Deceptively simple. Lee Marvin plays Walker. He gets double-crossed during a heist on Alcatraz by his partner, Reese, and even his own wife, Lynne. They shoot him and leave him for dead.
And when he somehow shows up again, he's not after some grand, operatic revenge.
No, not at all. It's almost procedural. He wants one thing from the organization that's the crime syndicate Mal now works for. He wants his share, exactly $93,000.
Not a round number, not payback plus interest. Just the 93 grand.
Precisely. It's very specific.
Okay, let's unpack this. We probably have to start with Lee Marvin himself. I mean, our sources keep calling him the consummate action star.
And he was, absolutely. But what's so interesting about Point Blank is how it takes that image and sort of twists it right from the start.
He had such range, didn't he? It's easy to forget.
Incredible versatility.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He could be genuinely scary, like the villain in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance or The Killers.
Right. Pure menace.
But then he could flip completely and do comedy. Okay, maybe Paint Your Wagon was a bit jarring for some.
Yeah, maybe a bit. But still, he went there. But most people knew him as the hard man, that really intense presence from The Dirty Dozen, Prime Cut, The Big Red One.
Exactly. And that established persona is so important for Point Blank because Boorman and Marvin take that image and strip it right down. Walker feels like the essence of all those tough guys, but almost robotic, a human machine.
Focused purely on this quest for cash and, revenge too, I suppose. And he gets help from this mysterious character, Yost.
Yeah, Yost just sort of appears, feeding him information, and Walker's path, it immediately shows the cost of betrayal. It's dark from the get-go.
He finds his wife, Lynne, first, and the sources say she's just consumed by guilt, realizes Reese was a mistake.
And that confrontation is swift and brutal. It ends with her taking her own life.
It's such a heavy, jarring scene right near the start. It really sets a tone. But Walker himself, he barely seems to react. Just a flicker, maybe?
And that flatness, that lack of obvious emotion, that's key. It stops the film becoming, a standard melodrama about betrayal.
Right. Her death is almost like an obstacle for him, a detour on his way to the money.
Pretty much. An inconvenience in his debt collection mission. And that trail leads him straight to Reese, who's done very well for himself. He's now a big shot in the organization.
And then there's another layer of complication because Mal is now involved with Lynne's sister, Chris.
Yeah.
Angie Dickinson.
Exactly. So you've got this cold, calculated quest for $93,000 tangled up with grief, family betrayal, two sisters. It's messy.
But Walker stays focused on the number.
Absolutely. And that obsessive focus on the exact amount, the $93,000, it's central to the film's whole tone, I think.
How so?
Well, it shifts the motive, doesn't it?
Fair.
Normal revenge is passionate, emotional. This feels like an audit. He's reducing everything, betrayal, murder, crime syndicates, to an accounting problem.
So the specificity makes a statement.
I think so, yeah. The sources suggest it strips away the usual gangster movie glamour. Walker isn't really an anti-hero fighting the system. He's just a calculation, a walking, breathing demand for payment due in a trench coat.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it leads us perfectly into the first big reason for the film's impact. Marvin's performance itself. It keeps being called a study in minimalist acting.
It really was groundbreaking for a major American star in '67. He has so little dialogue.
Yeah, you notice that immediately.
He communicates almost everything through just presence, a look, a stare, sometimes just a blank expression. It's way more powerful than pages of script would have been.
It forces you as the viewer to do the work.
Right.
You're constantly scanning his face, trying to figure out what's going on inside that machine. Is he feeling anything at all?
Exactly. And what's really fascinating there is how Marvin uses that stillness, that silence as a form of power. It builds this incredible tension.
Yeah.
Think about that scene with Chris, Angie Dickinson's character, Lynne's sister.
Oh, that scene is amazing.
Yeah.
She's just so frustrated with his coldness, his refusal to connect, and she just snaps. Starts hitting him, slapping him.
And you expect the tough guy reaction, right?
Yeah.
They're going to grab her wrist, shout, throw her across the room, and the usual movie stuff.
But he doesn't.
He absolutely doesn't. He puts his hands up for a second, like the defensively. But then, and this is clearly deliberate, he just drops them and stands there and takes it.
Wow. Just stands there.
Yeah, completely passive. Doesn't flinch, doesn't say a word. He just absorbs the attack.
That's an incredible power move, actually.
Yeah.
By not fighting back, he completely controls the situation. He lets her exhaust her anger against his unmoving presence.
Precisely. He diffuses everything without a word. It's masterful control. And that kind of performance, so internal, so controlled, it needed a specific kind of direction to work. You can't just film a guy standing still in a normal way.
Which brings us to the second key element, John Boorman's direction.
Yeah. That stillness Marvin had needed Boorman to really use the camera, the editing, the whole visual language in a new way.
It elevated the whole thing beyond just a crime flick.
Absolutely. This was Boorman's first American film, remember? And the sources really emphasize how his direction, the cinematography, the editing, it all gave it this kind of sophisticated European art house feel.
Right. Which was pretty unusual for his 60s Hollywood crime movie with a major star.
Definitely. He took that basic chase plot and used techniques that deliberately kept the audience slightly off balance, unsettled.
Can we get specific about those techniques? Art house can mean a lot of things. What did Boorman actually do?
Well, he definitely borrowed from things like the French New Wave, jump cuts, a fragmented style, but he applied it to this very American story and star.
Okay.
One big thing the sources point to is the editing. It's often disorienting. He uses a lot of flashbacks, cutting them into the present action.
But without those clear signals, like a wavy screen or sepia tone.
Exactly. So the timeline feels unstable. You're constantly asking yourself, is this happening now? Is it a memory? Is it maybe just Walker's state of mind we're seeing?
That creates a real sense of unease.
It does. And he backs that up with his use of color and camera angles. The colors are often very stark primary colors, especially in the architecture. It emphasizes Walker's isolation.
And the camera work.
Lots of unconventional angles, slow motion used in jarring ways. It's all designed to give you a different perspective, often one that highlights how alone Walker is, how disconnected he is from the world around him.
I remember the sound design being really effective, too. It wasn't just the visuals that felt stripped down.
That's a great point. The sound is often sparse. They remove ambient noise. So you might just hear Walker's footsteps echoing or the sharp click of a gun hammer. It really pulls you into his headspace.
It all works together, the setting, the color, the sound, to reflect Walker's almost clinical mindset.
Yeah. And speaking of setting, the film uses LA and San Francisco, but it's not a tourist movie.
No, definitely not. You barely see any famous landmarks, which is odd for the time. There's like a quick shot of the Hollywood sign, maybe. But the one location that looms over everything.
Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz. It becomes almost mythical in the film.
It's absolutely central, and it's key to the film's ambiguity. That's where the heist happens, where the double cross happens, where Walker gets shot.
And we see him right after, seemingly swimming away from the rock. But it's shot in this very strange, almost dreamlike way.
Exactly. It looks impossible. Then Walker just reappears.
Yeah.
Months later, maybe, on the mainland, starts his hunt.
But later in the film, when he needs info, he goes back to Alcatraz to meet Yost.
And this is where Boorman plants that seed of doubt brilliantly. While Walker's there, you hear the background noise of a tourist boat guide.
Oh, yeah, the commentary track.
Right. And the commentary, as noted in our sources, specifically says that nobody ever successfully escaped from Alcatraz. The waters were too cold, the currents too strong. It was impossible.
So the film itself tells you his escape couldn't have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which throws everything into question. If he couldn't have escaped, how is he here? Are we watching a real revenge story?
Yeah.
Or is the entire film, this whole meticulous quest for $93,000, just playing out in Walker's dying mind right after he was shot on the island?
Wow. That's a chilling thought.
And Boorman leaves that completely open, deliberately ambiguous. That's why it's more than just a standard thriller. Point Blank's power comes from that perfect match. Marvin's incredibly controlled, almost non-human performance giving you the relentless focus.
And Boorman's stylish, fragmented, questioning direction, providing that whole layer of doubt and well, artfulness.
Yeah, the synergy is amazing.
It really makes it a must-see, I think. Not just if you like crime films, but if you're interested in how acting and directing can work together to ask these really big, almost existential questions while still being a pretty compelling action story.
Which does leave you with a final thought, doesn't it? If Walker is defined by this almost absurdly specific sum, the $93,000, and the film strongly hints his physical escape was impossible,
Yeah.
could Point Blank actually be saying something deeper, maybe about capitalism or the American dream? Is Walker trapped, even after death perhaps, in a kind of transactional limbo, forever trying to settle this one impossible account?
Huh. That's definitely something to chew on next time you watch a film where the main character keeps quiet. Okay, that's our deep dive for today.
We'll see you next time.